Good news, everyone, is what that old man in Futurama says. But I, too, have good news for everybody here today. YouTube has been saved. I know it's a miraculous thing. You thought YouTube sucks. You know, Mr. Beast took over. Slop content. What are some other buzzwords people say? Clickbait. Glorified ad reads. Influencer nonsense. I don't know what else. YouTube sucked, but now it's good again because of the last few weeks in which it has been saved. Now, is there an extra space between been and saved there that I'm only noticing now and I'm not going back to fix? You're goddamn right. This is some of that low-effort content you love to see on YouTube, where you talk about the accomplishments of better men and women. Specifically trans women, you know, cis women, you know, they gotta step up their game, frankly. Now, today I have 3 grand videos to share with everybody, my thoughts, my feelings on these 3 videos that I think are the 3 best videos that have come out this year. Now, it's only, you know, what is it, April the 3rd? When I'm recording this, it's probably later, but then if you're in America, which most of my audience probably is in the sun, it doesn't matter. And we're gonna go through them all. I've got some notes. I've got some things to say. I'm gonna have clips and stuff. Not really. You'll see. Let's get into the first one here. Our first video we'll be talking about here is now titled, though the title has changed, Only 56 People Have Beaten This Pokemon Game, by the channel pChal, formerly known as Pokemon Challenges, a relatively large YouTube channel. You see they're nearly 900,000 subs. Famous for doing Nuzlocke-esque content and sort of challenge videos with other popular YouTubers. There's a whole background there. I don't even know if that's necessarily necessary. That's a funny way to say something. But this video is indeed a challenge type video. Now, usually when I talk about YouTube videos in these sorts of contexts, they're usually video essays. I don't really think this video counts as a video essay, but usually when we were doing video essays, we would sort of count, well, I would always count Pokemon Challenges videos on our Excel spreadsheets, the various things we would do. So even though this isn't a specific video about video essays, I'm still counting it in our search for the best video of the year that we do every year. Now, this is a narrative style challenge video where you sort of... So what's happened, Pokemon Challenges is a Twitch streamer. Well, not even primarily. That's how he plays these games. He's playing a game, a Pokemon ROM hack, which is a Pokemon fan game called Pokemon Run and Bun, which is a ROM hack of Emerald with all the Pokemon, all the moves, all the way up to Gen 8 and 9. And it's incredibly, incredibly difficult. In fact, only 56 people have beaten this game. And so this is a narrativization of him completing this challenge. Spoiler alert, though that is something we'll talk about in a second. There are lots of these types of videos. This might be the best of these types of videos that maybe I've ever seen. There are other takes on this, like the channel Jaden's Animations did like an animation type video that was similar to this, where it just goes through like her journey as a Nuzlocke, and then she like narrativizes her basically gameplay experience and creates a narrative with investment that's just like any sort of other story in YouTube video form. Obviously, that was more animated focused. If you look, you got footage over here, Chad. Are you shocked? How did I do this? If I scroll over, oh, now you're starting to realize how I pulled this great feat off. When I started this, it's continuing now. He does have custom animations into this video. They're not animations like hand-drawn animations like Jaden Animations would do. Anyway, so this is a common type of video that you've probably seen many versions of before. This is also a video he has personally been building up on his channel for a very long time. And it's finally came out, I think, a few weeks ago. It's already over, it's got 1.5 million views, I think. The video is 3 hours and 18 minutes long. It's a feature film length, much longer than most feature films length video. And it is probably the best of these 3 videos. We are starting off strong here. This is a fantastic video that I think everybody should watch. Even if you don't like, if you don't like Pokemon that much, maybe you shouldn't watch it, though I think it would be a very interesting insight into a very specific niche extreme in the Pokemon community. And I think you would somewhat get invested if you went in with an open mind. What a phrase. If you're a Pokemon fan at all, I think you would probably be curious about everything here. And I think I'm reiterating to you that this is worth your time. So now you have to watch it. Not that I think many people haven't seen this video because it blew up. Anyway, my next note here is who is Pokemon Challenges. We've kind of explained that. Pokemon Challenges used to open all of his YouTube videos with a tagline saying that he was the best Nuzlocke alive, and he would like react to other people's, or popular people would do Nuzlocke challenges or whatever, like Ludwig or Alpharad or all these very popular YouTubers, or the Jaden Animations video, and he would sort of react to it and sort of laugh when they fucked up and like try and give advice here and there. It was basically just a reaction series he did, and then he started to and he has like channels where he uploads his highlights and stuff like that. He sort of has had to walk back his moniker as the best Nuzlocke alive the last few years, as more people have popped up that are definitely better than him, which is sort of part of the narrative of this video. Obviously, this video, if you're watching it in the corner, this is not a Pokemon game. This is a custom animation being made here with lots of informational things popping up. There is incredible effort and production value in this video. It really is shockingly great. Like, everything you're looking at right now is insane. Now, I don't know much about editing, so maybe this is relatively easy, but as far as I understand, this video took about 6 months to make. I'm sure there's multiple editors, because not everything is like this, and sometimes he just cuts to footage of him streaming. It's all narrated, obviously, though he just does cut to stream clips. The differing types of media, I guess, like, you know how you used to say multimedia in school, where it's like, well, there's an animation voiceover thing here, cutting into footage, cutting into a live action segment where he's talking to the camera, cutting into even like an ad segment or a parody ad segment, which he does in the video a lot. And there's even a different type of animation thing where he has this Sisyphus thing he's like analogy he's weaving through the whole video too. There's lots to keep you engaged, is basically what I'm trying to say. And it switches from explaining mechanics into explaining strategies into explaining why the game is so difficult into constructing a narrative, and it flows through all these things very well. I have a list of like some of these different types of segments in the video. There are skits, there are inserts, there are custom animations, which is like what we're looking at here. There's even an anime opening and an anime ED. Literally, there is, now it's not the highest quality like animation, but there is an anime intro with a custom song that references a bunch of like, it's like a custom song. It's like a bunch of Nuzlocke nerdy like Pokemon challenges related references and everything. It's literally a custom song that somebody wrote. It's like a fan song or something. And it's really cool. There's also an ED at the end that is similar in every regard. Now, obviously, if you look up here at my little informational piece here, it says 549 videos. This is a channel with history, and it is tapped into a lot in this video. There is sort of the meta of his identity, the meta of his channel's identity, the meta of who he is. It all plays into sort of the narrative towards the end of the video, which is very good. Obviously, you'll get more out of it if you've seen a lot of his content before, which I've seen a relative amount. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fan. I haven't seen all the 500 of these videos, but yeah. And it is also interesting because he has done narrative videos like this before, and obviously he reacted to a lot of narrative type videos. But like he did come up doing like tier lists of which Pokemon you should use in certain Nuzlocke games, like other sort of like informational, like, did you know that this is actually an interesting interaction you can have in this game, etc., type content, where it's sort of like commentary / informational. And obviously this is very narrative based, though it is informational because this video tells his narrative, but it also explains, like, it literally starts from square one, where it does the explaining what a Nuzlocke thing is at the beginning. It explains sort of why, like, all the frequently asked questions he weaves into, like, the first 30 minutes of the video, and when he's talking about the beginning of the game and stuff like that. Like, what is this ROM hack? Why is it difficult? How is it difficult? What is a Nuzlocke? How do you do a Nuzlocke? Etc., etc. So for outsiders who don't really know anything, clicking in, it'll all be explained and you can follow pretty easily. And it's probably pretty easy to get invested later on. What else have I got here? Great ways at explaining complex insider terms and great placement of when to do so. The placement of when to do so is one of the more interesting and, like, respectable, or, like, that's so tricky to do, even in my videos where it isn't even structured like this, and there's not a lot of explaining that's even necessary. I always find it difficult how to figure out how to structure things so everything makes sense and everything flows and stuff like that. And I think this video did do that exceptionally as well. To a lot of people, this is like, if you're into Nuzlocke, this is like Nuzlocke porn. If you're into Pokemon, this is like Pokemon porn. Because he's explaining a bunch of niche strategies and stuff like that, and a million other like very clever things to get around things. He frames a lot of this video as like, you shouldn't really think about this as more of like a traditional Pokemon game, but you should think as every individual little fight, of which he has the specific number. It's like there's 381 fights in this game. You have to literally pre-plan for all of them in damage calculators and all this stuff. And he's sort of, he's explaining terms here right now. He's talking about steering, which is when shit starts to go wrong and you got to steer it in the correct direction. I know terms, guys. I'm smart. I'm into this community. I'm intelligent. What point was I saying just now? Structuring something. I've lost my train of thought entirely. I shouldn't have referenced the visuals on screen. How dare I? I literally just have to power through. I'm not going to remember. Now, the dot point I was reading here was great ways of explaining complex insider terms and great placement of when to do some. Nuzlocke and Pokemon porn. I think I was talking about like niche ways in which to play Pokemon and how you the pre-planning stage I think I was talking about. Where you have to plan for each battle. Oh, the puzzle thing. I remember exactly, chat. We got there in the end. So the puzzle thing is like you have to think of every fight as like a puzzle of like you have to get these certain things to happen and which Pokemon and which fringe strategies can you use with these individual Pokemon, of which you have a few at your disposal, and how could you get through this fight? Like, I'm not going to be able to... The examples are too complex in the video. You understand as you're watching it, but look, he's even got the damage little outline ruler thing on the thingy, so you can tell exactly how much HP your Pokemon's got. But, like, you need a certain Pokemon to be in when it kills this certain Pokemon, but that Pokemon couldn't kill the opponent's Pokemon from health, so you have to switch into something, and then you have to switch out, and then you have to plan exactly for how much health they're going to have every turn, and then drain it. And then you can switch in and have the Pokemon pre-ready, and you have to understand the AI of which Pokemon they're going to send in next because you have the team sheet of what they're going to have. And it's very complex in that fashion, and it's very interesting. Another big thing about the narrativizing, and probably a core appeal of this video, and this might be unique to my experience, is the unpredictability of the video, of basically whether or not he is going to beat the game at the end. Now, I know what you're thinking, Chad. He's making a big 3-hour-long video about how, like, obviously, it has to be how you've beaten it. Now, this, first of all, the title he has currently doesn't spoil that he beats it. The original title was just the Run and Bun video because it had a lot of, like, build up towards it, so it didn't even need a good title to do well at the beginning. It had, like, 600,000 views in the first day or whatever with just that title. Which obviously this one is more clickbaity and less insular. Basically, I was sure that I had heard him say in another video that he didn't win. Because also what is very interesting is that if you look at the screen now, it has attempt 5 here. These hardcore Nuzlocks, like these super hard games, take like hundreds of attempts usually. So that was sort of like he's only on attempt 5 here, which would be insane if he beats it. Now, I already spoiled that he does beat it in the video. So part of me was like, oh, so he doesn't beat it, and this is just going to be like explaining it. And sort of, he opens with the Sisyphus thing, and Sisyphus fails at the end. Now, it's pretty clear, like, he could go either way, and he could subvert it and be like, but I did it because I'm cool. Or it could be like, it could be a sadder message. It could be the Devilman type ending where it's like, well, we did lose, but we learned to love Pokemon along the way, and what a great game, and someday I'm going to do it. Plus, it could be bait for this as like a part 1 video, and he could remake the video for when he eventually beats it and make an even bigger video that could feed into it as sort of a sequel video. You do sort of, I did go back and forth because I feel like I had heard him say like, oh yeah, I didn't beat it, but we got really close, and that's really impressive that I got that close on my 5th attempt or something, which must be fake. But I went in with that. And then there's a certain point going through where I'm like, oh, like maybe he is going to win. And then towards the back end, it sort of seems like he starts like he's very positive towards the back end. It's like, oh, this is obviously misdirect for when he loses. And he ends up winning. And just like the back and forth of me trying to figure out if he was going to win was very, very entertaining towards the back end, and obviously plays into like the drama of the video. Like I obviously I watched these videos in pieces. I feel like I watched like the last hour and 20 minutes of this video in one sitting, which was crazy because I was just hooked and I was I wanted to see. And the way it is told is dramatically. He does spoil that he beats it right before he shows that he beats it, and it is a nice little narrative. Like, I like the small spoiler at the end. Because he's also doing this dramatic lighting thing at the end where he's filming himself with, like, monologues, and he has a part where he's, like, reading a poetry thing that's clearly about losing, and you're like, oh, and you are invested in this, and you're like, no, don't let the tragedy happen, he's going to lose. Now, obviously, losing in this is a very, very big deal because it literally takes months to get to the end of this game. So it's literally losing months of progress. And, like, a lot of it is luck-based, so you might literally never get back up to this point because this game is incredibly difficult and stuff like that. So you feel the weight, you feel the stakes towards the back end, and it's a lot of investment. Though even being spoiled, you should still definitely watch this video. So yes, the unpredictability of it and the outcome of it all was incredibly engaging throughout. Is he or isn't he going to do it? Plausible reasons to go either way. I swapped sides throughout the viewing of the video. The stakes. Well, we talked about all that. Now, the biggest reason I kind of wanted to talk about this video is to, like, shit on it. Though not really. I think there are very obvious places for improvement in this video. And it makes me very excited to see the next one when it comes out, like, next year or something. And it also, like, part of me is so jealous that I don't get to work on these types of videos. Like, I want him to make this next video. He's going to have a writer's room, and I'm invited because I got all the best ideas. There's something I've always thought about doing. There was a bit, and I'm just remembering this now. I didn't even plan on bringing this up, but there are like, there are famous like Nuzlocke comics that I remember reading when I was like 12. Ben Saint, whose brother we're going to talk about on the next panel slide, made a kind of famous Brunswick Mamoswine one. But where people would narrativize through a webcomic their Nuzlocke. There was a very famous one that was about somebody's Fire Red playthrough. I feel like it was a girl. And I remember reading it and thinking it was the coolest thing of all time, and I always wanted to do that. So sometimes I, like, you know, when you're a kid and you're like, well, I'm gonna do this massive project now, and I'm gonna start playing through this Pokemon game, and you don't even get like an hour in before you're doing something else. I always like, oh, all right, so I'm gonna play. I remember I tried with X and Y one time, and I got up to the first gym, and I'm like taking notes of everything that happens and ideas I have to narrativize it. Now, obviously, I can't write a comic, so I'm just gonna write a novel or something about this. And this is kind of that type of video. It's a very different approach because it's not entirely dramatized. Like, it is very meta. It is the tale of somebody. Like, the purely fictional story element is only like a third of the video, and it is like, it's not like that. It's more about the journey of getting there with your favorite streamer here, more so than an actual self-contained narrative like those comics are. But it's like it hollers back to those sorts of things, and it would be very interesting to do, and it's also more like egoistic in a sense because it's like more about you, which is also interesting from a writing perspective. But I would love to work on one of these videos, so, you know, I was thinking about how you would do things differently and stuff like that. I have a bunch of them written down here. There is a lot of drama in the video. It is a very dramatic video. I remember the Sisyphus opening at the beginning. I wasn't into it. I was like, oh, this is a little cringy. This is going a little too hard out of the gate. Where he's like, Sisyphus is a guy that threw a boulder up a hill. And you realize you've just clicked on a Pokemon challenge video, and you're like, not a Pokemon challenges video, but like a challenge video about Pokemon. And you're like, it's a little dramatic. I'm not bought into this. This is like silly. It gets you by the end, though, I will say. That being said, his narration isn't the best all the time. Like, he goes to very dramatic narration. And And I feel like if he was more personable, because he does have a very strong personality in his streams. It is very Destiny influenced. He is kind of a Destiny orbiter from back in the day. He does have a main channel. One of these videos, probably maybe the least viewed video on this channel of 549 videos, is a guest video with Mr. Mooten, the old #1 Destiny orbiter from back in the day. It's very funny. I remember when Destiny recently, now this is like a year ago, was like trying to get his January 6th video out or whatever, and he was like brainstorming. This guy did pop into the Discord server to talk to him about it and be like, you should just hire a writer, because he hires writers for these videos and stuff like that. And his base personality in the streams, you can definitely tell there's a Destiny influence. So he has a very strong personality. It's only slightly there. It's just obviously I've seen a lot of Destiny content, so it stands out to me. But that doesn't... It kind of plays into the narration, but it's like such a sort of like cynical, self-aware streamer style to where he's just doing very dramatic narration here, and there is sort of a disconnect there. So I think he could find his narration voice a little bit better. Choosing when to drama things in and sort of the types of drama I think would be interesting. I still feel like he probably could have found a better analogy. Now, obviously, he has all these animations for pushing the boulder uphill, and it's a very cool visual. Maybe just literally not mentioning Sisyphus, or maybe mentioning him once, maybe would have done better. But he does bring it up everywhere. When Sisyphus got to this point, what do you think he was thinking? As he's looking up with his Pokemon, and he doesn't got many left, and he's trying to figure out what to do. It's cute. And you do, by the end, and it factors into the ending, like when he's starting to lose towards the end, he does have insert shots of the boulder slipping. And it's like, oh my god, he's going to lose. And it's very dramatic. But even then, again, it's not even the Sisyphus stuff, it's just the boulder analogy. So maybe that is the case. The video has a lot in it. And I feel like it will be very rewarding for the people that have been anticipating this video since he announced it like 6 months ago. And it is sort of the sequel to his his biggest video, which is the Emerald Kaizo version video that he kind of did that was like this. If I recall correctly, that wasn't as dramatized. No, it wasn't as narrativized. It was more of like, this is how you do it and stuff like that type video. Though I don't remember that video too much. So the video is anticipated, and obviously there is like everything you could want from one of his videos, all the references to his other stuff, all his like channel memes, like the constant ad readings and the jokes around that, and the stuff towards the end, and the is he the best Nuzlocke alive callbacks, etc., etc. The Ludicolo is like the callbacks is like a big thing. But it does to a point feel all crammed in there. And again, I think it will service his core audience very well. I think to a more outside audience, maybe some of those aspects could be alienating. And also, it does end up being like messy. And it's like, oh my god, this happened, and then this happened, and this happened. And it's like, now we're cutting away to do this. Like I think in part 2 of the video, because it's in parts, all introduced in German, because he's I think natively German, though you wouldn't tell because he has no accent. Like in the second part, he like does a parody where it's like him reacting to himself, which I don't think was executed the best, and sort of drags out a little bit. But it's obviously like a reference to the like, oh, he has the old intro and he has the old setup and he's got his old like haircut, and it's like, oh, this is like fan service in a way. So there's those types of things in there. What else do I have written down? The Sisyphus analogy, the beginning, pays off towards the end. His narration is very dramatic and points at a very particular way that doesn't match his personality style, like when we cut to the stream footage in the video, which is true. We do cut to the stream footage, and it is a very different sort of demeanor. German title parts for each part, his changing, more optimistic mindset. There is like a theme to the video, and there is a flow to the video, so like, at some point, he feels really down on the dumps. Then he sort of like stumbles his way through a big fight, and then he starts to get more optimistic when he feels like he's not going to win. But then he like plays better like that, and then he becomes optimistic. And then there's like this whole narrative about how he like believes the game is like helping him, and like it will give you the tools to beat it, and you've just got to like trust in it, and you shouldn't be so sad when you get the bad rolls of which Pokemon you get on each route. And obviously then it gets sad towards the end again because he's sour again. Because, oh, I'm going to lose now. There's no way we get out of this. I didn't get the Pokemon I want. And then obviously it comes full circle towards the end. There's a lot of meta stuff, channels, other React segments. Yes, he reads poetry at one point, which is very dramatic. I feel like a lot of the dramatic stuff towards, like, as soon as it starts, you're like, oh, I don't know. I feel like this is a little too much. And by the end, you sort of do respect it. But I do feel like if the execution was slightly better, you wouldn't have that initial, like, oh, I don't know if we should have gone this far. Type feeling. And I think this will just get better with, like, repetition. The funniest part was when he did a fake ad read, which I don't even know if it was a fake ad read for that one drink. That was really funny. Another thing is sometimes the comedy doesn't land. And that one did, so I guess that stood out to me. It does feel like he's going for, like, safe jokes sometimes, which, again, doesn't really match his streaming demeanor. But when you're trying to deliberately script jokes, it is always rather difficult to capture your, like, it's not your narrative voice, it's just, like, your personality in your narrative voice. He had continual phrases, continual characters pop up throughout the thing. Like he said, a few more sacks and we scale was something that became like a mantra that was very dramatic in the video. That was cool. They repeated the chicken showing up, which is a Blaziken. It's very difficult to beat. It's the rival's Blaziken. Yeah, I just think it's a little cluttered at parts. Which I think this... Oh, he's doing the dramatic poetry reading. Oh, he does one early on, because this is early on in the video, and then this is a callback later. I forgot he did it one earlier on. I thought he only did it later. But anyway, I respect the... Obviously, this is the best video of the year. But I do respect the goal, the ambition here to put all these different elements in. I think they could have been meshed slightly better, and I think the execution of all of them could have been slightly better. And I think they will be moving forward. I think it's like a very big learning experience. If any of this stuff, any of this footage sounds cool, you just got to watch this video. It's fucking terrific. My last up point here is that, and this is kind of the case for at least the first two videos we're going to talk about here, it is in a sense very inspirational in multiple fronts. I would absolutely love to make something like this one day, so it's sort of inspirational from a creator's perspective. Obviously, it's inspirational because it's like somebody overcoming a very hard challenge, so it's like inspirational interpersonally. But it's also inspirational on the Pokemon front, where it's like, well, I want to fucking play this game now and beat it. Now, obviously, I couldn't beat this game. I've done one Nuzlocke in my life. Haha, you can watch the finale of it on the main channel. I believe it's still up. It's not like I'm playing particularly well. But even I'm like, oh, Run and Bun seems fun. I should try it. It's inspirational in that way, and it's inspirational like maybe we should do another Nuzlocke on stream like we did all those years ago. That would be fun, etc., etc. So... what could you ask more from a piece of art than inspiration and it touching you on an emotional level and it being very engaging, and it had them all. And yeah, I think this video was just fucking terrific. Everybody should watch this video. At least just try it out. Though I guess I am saying that it gets a lot better as it goes. So, but you'll be hooked. Come on now. Just watch the fucking video. It's the best. Anyway, this is probably a leading contender for video of the year now. I'll probably do more videos like this throughout the year, and then we'll probably deliver. Maybe we'll finally do a top 10 list of our top 10 favorite videos of the year that we did back in 2021 and have attempted to do every year since but failed. But yes, we'll be moving on to our second one now. When you walk away, you can reach. We all love that song. It's so good. It's a Kingdom Hearts song. And here we are with our second video where we want to talk about the second video that helped save YouTube over the last few weeks. I think this is the oldest one on here. That's why it has to be a few weeks in the title and not like in the last week, I'm pretty sure. Kingdom Hearts 102 BGE University Lecture by the channel BestGuyEver, a much smaller channel with only 109k subs. There's a lot to explain in the preamble here. Also, we've got footage again here. It's a very different type of video. Again, not really a video essay type video. Though video essay adjacent and BestGuyEver is largely a video essayist, at least currently. There he is. Look at him. He's the funniest guy. Look at the swagger. Where do we even begin with this old video? God, the footage doesn't just sell you on watching this? So I think we should introduce the concept of a university lecture type video. Now, this one in the title here says BGE University Lecture, but it is the sequel because it is Kingdom Hearts 102. Kingdom Hearts 101 is a video that came out about 7 years ago, I believe. On the PCP channel. No, I think it is on the Best Guy Ever channel, but that would have been a PCP University Lecture, which is a group that this young man was in. With the Ben Saint I referenced earlier, famously with the former Digibro, now Trixie the Golden Witch, Endless Jess. Mother's Basement was in it for a little while. Mumpkey Jones was in it for a little while, and way other cooler people that are way less known, like Munchie and Tom Oliver and Devu and Hypocrite and have I named them all? I think I might have. Did I miss somebody? Oh my god. Anyway. These people were very instrumental in my, late teen years. I was very obsessed with Digibro back in the day, which led to me being very obsessed with Best Guy Ever. Best Guy Ever's comedic stylings might seem familiar to you if you've never seen one of his videos and you choose to watch this one, because I literally stole them all. Though I don't think really anymore. I've probably grown out of it. If you listen to me 4 years ago, it was probably much more BG and inspired. Obviously, my original Big Black Lagoon videos that were sort of the first videos of mine that did really well. The beginning of the first part of that video series is literally a copy of a Best Guy Ever video about Gurren Lagann. It was, it was supposed to be a reference and stuff. It's very cringe. You should not go back and watch it. So anyway, this group used to do events called RadCon. This is a lot of backstory, where they would all meet up because they all lived in different parts of the world, and they would all make content together. And I believe at RadCon 2, they came up with this great idea where somebody would stand in front of a whiteboard and explain a fictional nerdy thing to the other members that were all vaguely interested in said nerdy things or things. Some of the members of the audience might have been familiar with the thing, in fact. Now, back then, there was 7 of them in the crowd. If you notice in this video, there's only 3 people in the crowd because the group eventually broke up in rather dramatic fashion. So we don't get those anymore, and now some of them have separated off and they still do this concept. This is the greatest concept for YouTube video making ever. It is the most of the videos in the series are great. They are among probably my favorite YouTube videos ever. There are other great ones, there's one on Animorphs by Tom Oliver that's terrific. Tom Oliver, sleeper hit. Never was my favorite PCP guy, but he has some incredibly good lectures. He also has one on Guilty Gear. And the conceit is usually well, we're going to explain the story of Animorphs to you, and it's going to shock you because the conceit is that Animorphs' story was supposed to be for kids, but it's really violent and shocking and cool. And so we explain the story, sort of. Nate did one about Final Fantasy, which isn't as cool because there isn't really a narrative, but it was sort of him going through each game and explaining sort of the backstory on each one. And then he did one about One Piece that made me read One Piece. One Piece is great. And that was more just retelling the tale of One Piece to where it was at that point. Kingdom Hearts is sort of like that, where it's sort of a mix of the two, where it's explaining a lot of concepts behind Kingdom Hearts and the Kingdom Hearts story. So in a way, this is like a very flamboyant sort of recap videos, and they all sort of are. But there are a few things that sell it. First of all, it's probably something you're either vaguely familiar with because you've heard people talk about it, that you haven't consumed. In that way, it's a fun alternative to consuming, and it will probably lead to you wanting to consume stuff because they will talk about it in cool and fun ways. The other thing is the presentational style of Nate being a very, very charismatic person and a great, sort of host, and a great way, handling a crowd and his friends. And on the original ones, a massive factor was that you were invested in all these different content creators. So going on the journey with them and their sort of insights and their jokes they would make, and sort of their, especially the Kingdom Hearts one, a lot of it is Nate making fun of Kingdom Hearts because it's his favorite thing ever, but he fucking also hates it. And totally makes fun of it for being retarded at a lot of points. And so, listening to him be and then this thing happened, this terrible narrative device happened, and then all the guys are laughing and making jokes and reiterating how silly it is, and it's just it's just a cool environment. It's a cool vibe. So that's sort of the appeal of this type of video, before we get into the specifics of what this video does strongly. I think some of the funniest moments I've ever seen in YouTube videos are often like the intros to these lecture videos because, again, they did a podcast every week. These guys had great chemistry within themselves. They were all on the same page. It was just a great dynamic. Like, I can't even remember some of the bits, like, because Nate will always like dramatically walk in after like Munchie will say something funny and they'll riff on it for like 40 seconds. And then it's just clever. I think in this one, it's like, they haven't called me that since high school, as he walks in with his 15 sunglasses on and his keyblade over his shoulder. And it's like funny. There's a lot of post-ironic sort of humor. It's very inherent to this group of people. Where it's like doing the cringy thing, but it's funny because it's cringe, but it's cringe because it's funny, but it's on like the 7th layer of this meta irony kick. One of the funniest ones was when Endless, like, Best Guy Ever in I think it might have been his first Final Fantasy one. He walks out and he's got like an unlimited amount of his signature silly purple glasses here, and he's just taking them out of his coat. And Endless just says, like, is the reason why this took so fucking long to set up is because you were planning bits or something. And Nate knows he's caught and he just smiles, and it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. I'll never forget it. Also, for those with strong constitutions, any of the Munchie lectures are some of the funniest pieces of content ever. He does repeat the N-word over and over and over again, though. So if you have weak constitution, don't be watching that, and don't be thinking I'm endorsing any such bad behavior. I don't think there are any slurs in this Nate one. He definitely says retarded, but so did I. So anyway, how they've all grown. A lot of them have disavowed their past. So, you gotta figure some things out. Anyway, this one is unique because it's a sequel lecture in which it's sort of continuing on, because when the last one was made, Kingdom Hearts 3 hadn't come out. Plus, it's clarifying a lot of lore details. You sort of have to watch the first one before watching this, which I did rewatch the first one that I have seen like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times before this, and going in definitely did help, and it helped with the investment of it and everything. I do think, and I expected to think this one wasn't going to be as good because it didn't have that dynamic of the other guys, and the friends that he has watching this one are completely new. I've never seen or met any of them ever. I thought they had an okay dynamic. They were pretty good. One of them was like, seemed like he was going to play the disinterested guy the whole time, but then he was like asking questions, and he never did sing though. Because another thing that Nate does in his lectures is he makes the whole crowd sing a little bit. It's like, it's just terrific. It's just the greatest thing of all time. That's why I was singing that song at the beginning. It was a great reference. That's a lot to explain the conceit, but in the conceit is sort of the appeal of these videos and whether or not you will understand they are for you. It's just the greatest. One day I'll get Jockey Bacon and Elite Ari in a room and we'll do one of these things. Don't worry. We just got me glazing Best Guy Ever here, saying he and his personality, his screen presence, his comedy are all vital in the enjoyment of this video. The video works very well knowing nothing going in. If you like convoluted plot recap, that's actually really cool. Motivated to watch things through spoilers. I often talk about this, how I'm usually most motivated to watch something when I'm spoiled on it. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I want to see that in context. So if you are anything like me, now obviously the downside for all of these is there are massive spoilers through all of them. So you sort of have to be my type of person to get enjoyment out of it, especially if you're planning to play Kingdom Hearts one day. If you're not planning to play Kingdom Hearts ever, it's like, oh, well, this is perfect. Just like when I watched that One Piece one, I'm like, I'm never fucking reading shitty One Piece. And then like, oh, he's like 40 minutes in explaining like just the world design. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing of all time. Can't wait to read One Piece after this. This is great. Another interesting thing with his type of lectures is also a lot of the time he's covering things that aren't finished yet. So you do have the opportunity of falling in love with it through the lecture, then consuming it and catching up to be there for the next bit of lore reveals that you're like, oh my god, this could have been in the 103 lecture. But now I'm actually in here in real time consuming it. Isn't this crazy? I never actually caught up to One Piece, so even though that was the plan, that never happened. But when watching the One Piece one, you're like hearing all this mystery about what the One Piece is, and you're like, I have to be there the moment the One Piece is released, revealed rather. So I can't just not watch One Piece or read One Piece rather. So I gotta jump in. What else we got here? No or nothing in, motivated to watch things through spoilers, plus Nate clearly has spicy takes that probably would dissuade most Kingdom Hearts people from enjoying this lecture. That is also funny. It is probably ideal for you to know very little going in or be a Best Guy Ever fan going into this video, because I'm assuming if you have Kingdom Hearts opinions, if you like Kingdom Hearts, him shitting on Kingdom Hearts for 3 hours while explaining the story and reiterating that it's like absolute dog shit most of the time is probably not something you're going to like. So... It's better if you don't know anything about Kingdom Hearts, probably. The way this video is edited is obviously a lot of it is very physical, right? They're literally filming in a location. There's a whiteboard there. There's like 2 shots. You cut back and forth. That being said, in all of Nate's lectures, he does do a bunch of edits. And it definitely reminds me of Jarky Bacon's type of editing where he does his year-end podcasts. And it's like, Bacon, you don't have to edit this at all. Like... You could just get this out right on time if you just didn't edit this, but Bacon always edits in little images that I don't even see most of the time because I'm watching it in my pocket. It's the same here but this one's different because he'll mention like a character and it's like, oh, this is a new character, and he'll like start describing his appearance and you're like, you're fumbling. You got to get the phone out of your pocket so you can see it before the image goes away to be like, oh, that's the visual of what he was just describing and stuff like that. So it is good. Oh, we're panning over. Look at this dramatic shot over here. Look, he just did a thing. This is one of the things. You got to get it out of your pocket. You got to look. And now look, he even has a note down the bottom. This is crazy. Which is unnecessary, but like it shows a quality of the video. You know, we like that. The sing-along, while not as good as last time, is great. Now I'm just getting into individual things I liked about this particular video, if you've also already seen it. And there's a little bit of discussion here. What were they thinking was a funny bit that Nate had throughout the lecture. The telling of the story in this way has its own type of drama that's impossible outside of this specific video, and Nate is very good at weaving a story to fit his narrative and joke. Obviously experiencing something here, he obviously like restructures the reveal order of things to make things extra dramatic in this very specific type of way. And it is really cool. Like, some of the coolest things I've ever considered in fiction were like the way he would introduce One Piece concepts, where he would sort of do it out of order, but then he would like build it up. It's just a very specific way of like, if you're orally telling somebody a story and you know, oh, hold on, I'll go into this little detail over here before I get to the payoff here. And it's just like, it's a great way of telling a story. When you weave it, it's very rewarding as the storyteller, but it's also obviously rewarding as an audience member. And even if this isn't how like the information would be revealed if you actually consume the thing, it makes the video very unique as a way of experiencing like the reveal of a mystery. And Nate is very good at that, and so it makes for a very good video. And it's also a lot of the time, especially in this one, like in the One Piece thing, obviously he loves One Piece. He has criticisms of it that are kind of like in the vein of this Kingdom Hearts, where he's like, why did he do that or whatever, and he's going off. A lot of the times the reveals in this are like jokes where it's like, and then you won't believe this silly narrative choice next, boom. Rather than this really cool thing is going to happen, and Whitebeard stands up and says the One Piece is real or whatever, and like, oh, this is the craziest thing of all fucking time. But yeah, so Nate is very good. Can you tell I'm in love? It is also suspenseful. There were multiple moments where I had to pause the video for a little bit, and I really wanted to listen to a few more seconds to see what happens next. Now, I don't sort of agree with Nate's like structure here, where he's like constantly shitting on Kingdom Hearts. Because some of this stuff I'm hearing and the way it's revealed, I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. I can't wait to like. There's like a literal mystery box that's introduced at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, and Nate's just going on about how it's a literal mystery box. This is something we've made fun of on YouTube for 10 years for being a terrible writing concept, and he fucking Nomura just put it in his thing. And I'm sitting here like, man, what's gonna be in the box? This is crazy. I love stupid mysteries like this. It's also a lot of the appeal, like. It's a similar type of appeal to the Five Nights at Freddy's MatPat videos, where like a lot of people that have never seen or played a Five Nights at Freddy's game watch all those videos and are very invested, and how sort of like MatPat will reveal information and sort of like do lore things like that. It's a very similar appeal of like the spoilers and the speculation. And then the dramatic reveals. Now, usually it's the reveals in the form of theories, obviously, with MatPat, whereas this is different. But it hits on the same brainwaves. It hits on the same appeal, broadly, I think. True, I wanted to see what happened next. Crowd interaction is a big aspect. We already talked about that. It's kind of why I haven't watched any of the Ben Sank lectures. BestGuyEver's brother, Ben Saint, does do lectures too since the PCP broke up, but I have not really watched any of them, and I think it's because he's literally just standing into a whiteboard like a normal YouTube video with no audience, a close-up shot of his face talking into the camera. I'm like, well, that's like missing half the appeal. The appeal isn't like always the subject, it's like the interactions and the reveals to both yourself, where it's dramatic in and of itself, but also the reaction of the audience members. It's great. And then my last nut point here is also, this is also inspirational. I will play Kingdom Hearts kind of motivated by this lecture one day. So I can feel part of the community in as future aspects are revealed. Same happened for One Piece. I kind of already touched on that. But yeah, we're talking at the end about how we're starting a new Kingdom Hearts thingy, and it's going to be like in this world that's like just a synonym for Square, and is the new Kingdom Hearts going to be visiting a bunch of Square games rather than a bunch of Disney worlds? And that sounds really cool. And what's going on with all this lore stuff, and who's this guy that's face hasn't been revealed that seems like he was the big bad guy all along in these big retcons? It's like, oh my god, I want to be there when he takes his hood off. I want to see what he looks like. Is it going to be a she? Dun dun dun. I want to be there for all of that. And you know, also Kingdom Hearts is a really cool aesthetic, and they maintains in these videos that like the gameplay of this is like some of the best ever, and it is like action game gameplay, but it is not like the Souls style that seems rather unappealing to me. So I'm like, and obviously Nate has other videos on Kingdom Hearts where he goes into more detail about what he likes about the combat, and it does seem really cool, where it's like, oh, you're swinging around and stuff like this. So it's I'll consume the actual thing one of these days. But yes, you have to watch this video too. It's helped save YouTube. All 3 of these very long videos came out. Did I say how long this one was? It was 3 hours and 48 minutes. So get to it. You hop to it, and you got to watch the first one too, and that one's like 2 hours and 50-something minutes. So you got 6 hours of terrific, once-in-a-lifetime, all-time great YouTube content here. Plus, if you haven't seen any other lectures, you've got a whole backlog to dive back into, and if you've seen them, you're going to want to rewatch them. Come on, it's just, they're the best things ever. I was re-listening to the Animorphs one as I fell asleep last night. Incredible stuff. I feel like I had one final thing, but I've forgotten it, so we might just move on to the next one. I'll give myself about 5 seconds to think before we move on completely. What a video! And yes, we are here with our final video, which is Conspiracy by ContraPoints. Now, I know it looks ugly there on the PowerPoint here, but that is how ContraPoints does her titles. I don't know why. It's very annoying. But anyway. This, of course, is our 3rd big video that came out. It's another long one, though it is the shortest one on this list at 2 hours and 40 minutes. That's piss easy. Frankly, disappointing in length. No, I think it is one of her more longer videos. I don't remember. I feel like Envy was only an hour and like 39 minutes long or something. That's always my go-to ContraPoints video. It's definitely my favorite one, even still now after the great Conspiracy here is out. This is obviously another very anticipated video. All of these videos that we've talked about have been very anticipated. The Pokemon Challenges one is more just in his sort of community. The Nate one very much in his community and sort of his surrounding former PCP community. Obviously one of the most anticipated things possible. We all really love that lecture stuff. ContraPoints widely makes about 1 video a year, and this is probably the one for the year, and here it is. I have not saved the best for last. I think this is probably my least favorite video out of the 3. It is not my favorite ContraPoints video, which means I'm probably slightly disappointed. Though I do think the video does get there in the end and is in it of itself pretty great. My first note here sort of sums this up, where it says, with a new ContraPoints video comes ContraPoints expectations. And immediately, because she had hyped up that she had a video coming soon a few months ago, and then like the day before she tweeted about how the video was going to come out soon. And then I remember being disappointed when the title popped up and it was Conspiracy. Now, how ContraPoints videos work is they usually are vague concepts. Like Envy is like the best one. But there's other ones where it's like capitalism, or it's voting was one of them right before the 2020 election, which is like the 3rd most recent ContraPoints video, and it was 4 years ago. And all sorts of stuff like that. Like I think there's one masculinity, there's one called darkness, there's one called, it's just a bunch of vague stuff. But basically, what I kind of was anticipating from a new ContraPoints video was a more pointed, directly contemporaneously political video, probably talking a lot about Donald Trump. And it's probably what I wanted, which the video kind of isn't. In places it is. But I think I understand why that's probably for the best, because none of her videos have ever been too directly political like that, probably except for the voting one, which literally was the conclusion of the video was literally like, vote for Joe Biden, please. Whereas most of these videos, all the ContraPoints videos kind of end up being the same, where it's an exploration of a concept, and like the conclusion is that the concept doesn't matter, and it's just because people have hurt feelings, and this is the core of all of our problems. And it sort of and it always ends on like a positive note of like, you sort of understand why you sort of have a moment of self-awareness where you're like, oh yes, I am like that sometimes, and I need to stop. Because the journey of watching a ContraPoints video is usually, at least to me, it's like, oh my god, I have been thinking about that recently. Oh my god, I agree with that. It's sort of like a self-validation thing the whole time through. Now, I know this isn't the case for a lot of people. A lot of people just say like ContraPoints videos are very confusing, like, because she is very popular. It's sort of broken into normie things. And that's sort of like the critique. It's like, you don't know what's going on in a ContraPoints video, you liar, or whatever. It's definitely less philosophical now. Like, a lot of her older videos would have lots more quotes and shit like that. And obviously she has crazy sets and she's doing wacky things, and it's like, oh, I think that just throws a lot of people off. It's sort of like they can't focus on the points, which are usually very like structured and like well explained and like not hard to follow really. And that's sort of where my old like video idea / funny little talking point where I would be like, ContraPoints is Evangelion, because when you come to the end, especially of good ContraPoints videos, especially of like Envy, you sort of have it gives you the same effect of when you get to the end of Eva, or even the Rebuild film had this, the last one had the same feeling, where it's like, none of that matters. The real reason is that everybody is like sad and they like hurt each other when they lash out at each other, and we just need to stop doing that. And you sort of have this self-awareness of like, oh, I do that, and that is the where all the conflict in my life comes from. And I need to stop overcorrecting for people, and I need to stop being antagonistic towards people, even in small little ways, because they do come back to bite you. And you need to like think before you act, and you need to do all these things, and you like feel totally at peace when you get to the end of the video and you're like, I know how to engage with the world properly now, and I will go and be a better person. And it never lasts. Like, as soon as you're listening to something else, you're like, this fucking idiot's annoying, and now I'm petty again, and now I'm doing little things. And it's like, man, it's like an exercise in, you sort of understand the problem. You sort of understand the solution, but it's inherent to human nature not to, like, solution it. That's sort of the case with conspiracy. Conspiracy is like a stand-in, just like Envy was in that video, where it's like, stop being envious. Being envious is sort of the thing. And conspiracy-like thinking, which is what this video is about, where it's like you're just jumping to conclusions. You're not really thinking things through. And this is all born out of, like, she has a thing where it's all, like, conspiracy thinking is like born out of humiliation in a sense, which is basically just, it's born out of like you having a bad moment and searching for a conclusion and coming to conspiracy, where it's like, you got divorced, so now women have this conspiracy against you because nobody talks about how divorce is so bad, even though everybody talks about how divorce is so bad. But in this moment where you are isolated and you are alone, you feel alone, and you feel like nobody's ever talking about this, and you feel like nobody is understanding you in the moment. So therefore, women are the thing, and now you're in a red pill pipeline. You're like, all bitches are evil, and like, my wife fucking left me, and look, she's got a new husband now. I don't got anybody new, and even if I do, I'm just gonna be thinking about how I can impress my wife, and I don't even have the lack of like self-importance to realize that she's probably going through the exact same emotions, and like, it's not sunshine and rainbows over there, but because I want to feel bad about myself and feel like the whole world is against me, I'm going to think you're doing well. And it's like this is where conspiracy thinking comes from. It's like, she points out like the Elon Musk and Donald Trump thinking that they are like at the heart of like the conspiracy is against them, and like how there really is no conspiracy, and it's just like people searching for dramatic explanations for things that just are like incentives based, and how they need this crazy chaotic bad guy to be in the background. It sort of puts you at peace, and it helps you simplify things, and all these are very interesting aspects that you do see and that are very relevant, because obviously, if you haven't noticed, everybody's fucking insane now. on all things. Like, the biggest example is obviously the vaccine stuff. Like, just conspiracy is much more rampant. People don't really know how to research anything. They don't really know how to think a thing through or anything like that. And obviously, it does feel like there was a floodgate moment where, and I feel like the American political system is kind of going through this now, where basically everything in society is like not hardwired, and it just works because people think it like works, and because people don't test it because they've got other things to do. Where it's like, society only really functions, or the American system only really functions because everybody wants it to function. Like, as soon as Donald Trump in bad faith starts to like pass a million things through executive orders, and you're like, well, you can kind of technically do that, but no president before would have ever done that because they would have understood that this is like against the principles of the government and stuff like that, and how this is sort of a loophole that you're allowed to use kind of to do a few small things, but if you do a few big things, then like massive consequences could come from it. It's sort of like the general like society exists on like the basis of violence, but you don't really think about it too much, and because it's normal, you don't think of it as a bad thing. Of like, you sort of have to do what society tells you to do, or the police will kill you. Of like, well, that doesn't really seem the case. Like, if you do something that's outside of society's parameters, the police will come for you, but they'll just like fine you. But that's like, well, if you refuse to engage with society by paying the fine, then you might get a warrant. And then if you refuse to go with the police when you get a warrant, you're in a conflict with the police. And if you're in a conflict with the police and you resist too much, they might just have to kill you. And it's sort of like, well, it's sort of this quiet thing. But if everybody starts disobeying the police, society will fall apart. And people only really listen to the police because they think they have to listen to the police because that's sort of what society tells them. It's sort of like, there's another thing where it's like, I feel like these crime videos sort of lead into this, where it's like, people will just tell you everything about them that they shouldn't tell you, just because they feel like they have to tell you when they're asked a question, because like, they don't think about the outside situation. They're just like, oh my God, I just got asked a question. I have to come up with an answer. And the easiest answer is obviously the truth. So people will just tell you things. Like, the amount of times at work I've just said something I shouldn't have said, that it's like, oh, well, if I didn't say that, I probably could have gotten away with not working tomorrow. But because I've said this thing, where it's like, where your boss like asks you if you can work, if you can do this shift tomorrow. And what you're thinking is like, I really, really, really don't want to do this shift tomorrow. But like, you end up saying like, oh, I could do the shift, I guess. And you're like, what? Why the fuck did I just say that? And it's like, when you're asked it, like, if you went up to the street and you like, somebody has a secret and you just go up to them and immediately ask them about it, they're probably just going to blurt out the secret immediately. It's like, all of these things are just like, you don't have to say anything, but you just will, because that's sort of what you do. And this all somehow relates together, where it's like, the American political system, like everybody needs to sort of be civil for it to work. And like, if you test the parameters, the checks and balances are supposed to be like, well, if the president oversteps, we will like violently revolt, right? That's like the last step. Like, if the military won't do anything and the courts won't do anything, and somebody is becoming a dictator, like, the last check is the people rising up, because the people are the many and whatever. And it's like, but nobody's really prepared to do that. Plus, they sort of haven't engaged with that idea before, to where, like, that's probably not going to happen. So Donald Trump can probably just literally do everything for 4 years. And you sort of have to, like, kowtow to whatever he wants. It's sort of one bad faith thing can ruin everything, because people have never actually thought out why this structure is in place. Relating this back to vaccines, I'm just, like, repeating the points of the video. Like, everybody just takes vaccines because they're told to take vaccines, and because people around them tell them to take vaccines. And when people start questioning the idea of vaccines, they don't really, even the people for vaccines don't really know how to explain why they're for vaccines, because nobody really knows anything about anything, because society is so big and multifaceted that you really can't understand society fully. Like, I bring up this silly example, but I have no idea how my tap works. And if you think about how the tap system works, and how there's a massive underground sewer system that connects like the whole of civilization together through these pipes that connect to dams, and then this is also happening above you with power lines, and then this is also happening with you through roads, and you're like to a layman, that seems like an impossible thing to ever exist. Like, if somebody told you that existed with a few contexts removed, you'd be like, no, that's impossible. People couldn't do that. And it feels like the same thing with, like, that's probably why people don't believe in vaccines, right? Because like, they have no idea how vaccines work or why vaccines are a thing. And it's like, well, it's obviously that you're pressured into doing it by the government. So the silliest solution I can think of is like, oh, they want you to do it because they want to control you and stuff like that. And like, because nobody is smart enough in most areas of their lives to engage with things that they sort of have to assume and trust to be true, everything sort of falls apart. Once the floodgate is opened of like, well, now people are en masse deciding that they don't like vaccines, and there's no way to really get them back because the reason why we took vaccines was never really fact-based to begin with, because people didn't understand why anything happens. People don't understand why anything happens. Now, obviously, how government institutions are set up is to like be good to the people, which means it would be against the government's like incentives to license a bad vaccine. So obviously the vaccines work. But like, people don't really trust the government because a default thing they've been brought up with is that like politicians are all evil and you shouldn't trust the government and they will just disappoint you over and over again. Which is not really true because society does function and it is this mega machine that somehow functions. And it's just like, this is just a rant at this point. Whatever. It's about, and it's sort of the heart of the video, and in the resonance of the theme of the video is the conspiracy thinking that is like, every part of this is like a floodgate that is opened that can't be unopened because the floodgate was predicated on people not really understanding that it was there. But anyway, who cares about this nonsense? What do my notes say? I'm going back to talking about ContraPoints' presentation. Obviously, ContraPoints, like, the ContraPoints aesthetic was the big thing that sort of gave her this grand, not just stature as in, like, she got really popular off of it, because I don't even know if that's necessarily true, but it's what gave her, like, quality reputation of being, like, the best video essayist or the best breadtuber. Was like, she has these sets and these costumes that nobody else is really doing. And they have continued to sort of grow and develop. As you can see on screen, this is kind of crazy. She's got something, it's like a projector. It's also firing on her, and she's got the set in the background and the costume. And she'll have like 17 different costumes in one video, a different one for each part. And at some point in this video, she has like background actors also in costumes, slightly swaying from back and forth, and it's like scary and stuff. And she also has all these TVs she films things on that are really cool and aesthetic. It's all cool. High production value and a high production value casing for a kind of old school type fleshed out YouTube video. That is part of the core appeal, is that these do feel like old videos. Like, it is literally just her reading a script into a camera, performing it, and having a joke here and there, and editing like clips in. And it is, the way she uses clips is very old YouTube, where it's like funny clips that she's going to repeat like 15 times throughout the video. So it is like a clashing of like high production value that doesn't feel old YouTube with sort of a video style that does feel old YouTube, with sort of the intelligence behind it that doesn't seem like old YouTube. So yeah, it is like a meshing of high and low YouTube arts, I guess, which ends up in a very interesting aesthetic. My next point is I kind of wanted the video to be more directly political, and it kind of is sometimes. I think she doesn't like to date the videos. Yes, so if it was more directly about Donald Trump, like an idea I had was she could do a video called like Dictator, where it's like about Donald Trump slowly trying to become a dictator, and that could have been, it's like a vague thing. She can do a whole 20-minute intro about dictators throughout history and the psychology and the philosophy behind dictators. And then she can talk about Donald Trump, and then she can do a conclusion at the end where she says, well, it's not really about Donald Trump, it's just because we're sad. But that does date it. Whereas, like, I feel like she has some aspiration for, like, in 40 years, somebody could watch the Envy video and it would still resonate because it's about base human emotions that will forever be relatable. Which is usually a point in a video. She usually connects it to something like ancient in sort of ancient history or media, and then something in new media, and then, like, more directly political topics and different political actors and stuff like that. Like, she has a whole, like, the ending bit. There's obviously massive parts about Alex Jones and other famous conspiracy theorists. There's Candace Owens stuff at the end. There's Donald Trump stuff kind of throughout. Anyway, next up point. The ContraPoints ending, feeling the relatability through the ideas. I kind of already talked about all this. It's because people are sad and selfish and stupid. The triple S's. She called herself a lib in the video. There is an astonishing lack of yes queening in the comments. It is true, and in both of the other, well, really only in the Pokemon Challenges video, there is a lot of yes queening in the comments from every big like Pokemon Nuzlocke person, from every big Pokemon narrativizing challenges person. Like all of the first comments that pop up are all checkmark, like 100,000 to 1 million subscriber channels, sometimes even more, all saying like this is the greatest video of all time. Well done, Jan, you've done so well here. All of this stuff, just all the comments. And this was the first time I ever saw this was in ContraPoints comments. It would be like every big bread tuber would be there to suck up. Would be like, yes, Queen, what a great video. Oh, I can't wait for my TV show is on. This is all so great. And it is good. Like, even in my own little community here, when I do put out a big good video, there'll be an Elite RE comment, there'll be a Jarky Baker comment, there'll be an It's Mia comment, there'll be a Rika7 comment. There'll be a Steelbook comment, there will be a Mr. Gems comment, there will be a... Those are our new characters. There will be a Sergeant Cloak from way back in the day, the Sergeant Ghost guy. Oh, and then we even got Vinland Saga Sergeant. All my old pals, all my viewers, parasocial pals. There really isn't that on this new ContraPoints video. I don't know. I feel like there will be a time where a general like lefty thing turns on ContraPoints. I think she could say an opinion that's too normal and libby for them, and she does call herself like a liberal sock dem, I think, in this video, rather than like a socialist, even though she is talking up socialism multiple times throughout the video. So her general like space in this general political market is also an interesting sort of meta-narrative that I think will develop into the future when she gets cancelled by the lefties for saying something bad. But yes, I was wondering if that was like connected, like the fact that she called herself a liberal. And it's like, oh, is that why not everybody's in the comments trying to get some points? That would be funny. Now, obviously, that's like an hour and a half into the video, maybe even longer than that. I think it literally might be 2 hours into the video, and they probably wouldn't have known that beforehand. So it throws out that idea. But two unconnected ideas that I noticed. I always like her use of gritty, slimy examples of Twitter arguments and famous people when I make videos. I'm always insecure about this. She will just relate things to like comments that she's seen and stuff like that. And I do admire her ability to just weave that in. Whereas I was always like, oh, if I just like this one Reddit post annoyed me. Like if I put it in my video, it's like that'll seem like tacky. Whereas it doesn't in her videos, and she does it anyway, and it's great. And maybe I should get over that general insecurity. And I should love people, because that's the message at the end of ContraPoints videos. Not really. It's about self-awareness and not giving in to being stupid. But other than that, the video is really good. The costumes are great. It's not my favorite ContraPoints video, so I'm left slightly disappointed. It's not exactly the topic I wanted, so I'm slightly disappointed on that front. It would still definitely be a video of the year contender. It's probably the third best video that came out this year. And if we're doing strictly video essays by the old, like, sort of, oh my god, Okabe Rintaro and World Lines were there. We're talking about QAnon now. Look, it's Donald Trump. The footage just sells you on videos, you know? What was I just saying? I don't remember. Oh. If we're being stringent with the definition of video essays, this is probably the best video essay of the year, right? Because the other two wouldn't have counted. And I don't know if I've seen anything else this year that would be as good as this one. But yes, ContraPoints videos, they're an event. I dropped everything to start watching this video, even if it took me like a week to finish. I did finish this in the Nate video today, so that's crazy. But yeah, the 3 videos that saved YouTube. It was a great experience when all these videos coming out. I was just switching between them too. I always had something really interesting to listen to whenever I had some downtime. It feels good. It isn't really a feeling I've had from YouTube. Like, usually it's just like a podcast that I'm like, oh, I got a few podcasts that have like backed up now. I can switch between these. But these are like dynamic video essays, highly anticipated, like once a year, if not like further apart type things. A big Pokemon Challenges narrative challenge video, a fucking PCP University lecture, and a ContraPoints video. And it's like, oh my god, YouTube is real, YouTube is back, this is better than all this shit. Even when I think I'm watching good videos, I'm not watching a good video. Fucking shitty Jacob Geller could never put out a video as good as any of these videos. Even the great Brody Chanel, my second favorite bread tuber after ContraPoints apparently. Like, all their videos are so about one subject, and they're not grand community events like this. It's like, Oh, I don't know. Something like a Lindsay Ellis could probably get to this height. I know there's just so much anticipation that goes into this video. There's definitely other examples of big videos that could come out. Like Super Eye Patch Wolf put out another wrestling video today that's similarly length to these videos. Now, obviously, those videos usually annoy me because I know a lot about wrestling already, and they're kind of made for people that don't know much about wrestling. So I don't think it would be in this category. But kind of, right? Super Eye Patch Wolf videos only come out once every, probably 3 a year, maybe less than that. So those feel like events. Obviously, a H-Bomber Guy video, especially now that his most popular video was probably his most recent one. I don't know, I haven't checked the popular tab. But that plagiarism video was monstrously massive. So when he comes out with a new video, it will definitely be an event similar to these ones, if not bigger. I did feel that a little bit. I did feel like H-Bomber Guy has started to beat ContraPoints because this video did... I think it's probably got like a 1.8 million views, I think, when I checked it today. Or is that just the subscriber count here and I'm getting confused? But like that H-Bomber Guy video had like 10 million views in a few days, and that's like insane. It is a more clickbaity concept, the plagiarism on YouTube concept. It's funny if he's like overtaken her. It does feel a little bit like ContraPoints has lost some luster and become a little less relevant. And it might call for some reinvention or a particularly poignant video or something like that. So I'm interested if that's where she goes next, or she just sort of settles into this 1 to 2 million views every video sort of thing and doesn't want to go for a big 10 million view video or something. I don't know. Interesting times in the old video essay space, huh? Slash video essay adjacent space, I guess, which is the first 2 videos we talked about here. Anyway, I think this is where we're ending the goddamn video. 3 YouTube videos I probably talked about for like an hour and a half. I don't know how long this has been. If we get another quartet, or what do you call this, trilogy of videos or something, maybe I'll make more videos like this in the future. I'm not certain. Anyway, depends how this video does, if the people love it. Anyway, I'm finally doing the intro. Get out of here, watch all 3 of these videos, support links in the description below. Thanks.